Was born to be my sister's spare parts factory. Blood at 7, bone marrow. At 8, a kidney. At 16, when I got pregnant. At 22, my mother said God had finally answered my infertile sister's prayers and I'd be handing over my baby. After I refused and fled with my daughter, she forged adoption papers and mobilized the entire church to take my child through the courts. When I told my mother I was pregnant at 22, she didn't congratulate me. She told me God had finally answered my sister's prayers and I would be giving her my baby. I wasn't even supposed to exist. My parents only wanted one child, but Alicia came out with more medical issues than a pharmaceutical disclaimer. So they had me, their little spare parts factory. Growing up, I donated blood so often the nurses knew my favorite foods better than my parents. Bone marrow at 8, a kidney at 16. My childhood bedroom looked like a medical supply closet with posters. Dad just nodded along, same as he had my whole life. Alicia's latest malfunction, her uterus, 8 years of trying, 0 babies. Meanwhile, I got knocked up by accident, and suddenly I'm Mary carrying the second coming. Except the wise men are my mother's prayer group, and they're bringing casseroles instead of myrrh. Mom found the test before I could even decide what to do. One minute I'm staring at 2 pink lines, the next she's bursting through my door like the Kool-Aid man. Alicia's miracle! She shrieked, clutching that pea stick like Moses with the tablets. By dinner, she'd already mentally redecorated Alicia's guest room into a nursery. Alicia sat there, looking like someone had handed her a winning lottery ticket covered in someone else's blood. I mean, I am more financially stable, she said, already rubbing my stomach like I was her personal Buddha statue. And emotionally ready, it just makes sense. Louis, my boyfriend of 2 years, nodded along like a dashboard bobblehead. I don't want kids anyway, he shrugged. This works out perfectly. Classic Louis. Avoiding conflict like it's cardio. I felt like I was drowning in a room full of people discussing my lung capacity. 3 weeks later, Mom invited the family lawyer to Sunday dinner. Between the pot roast and apple pie, she casually mentioned the private adoption papers she'd started. Apparently, I'd be moving in with Alicia, so she could bond with her baby. My mom had already told the entire congregation about one of my daughters expecting, carefully omitting which daughter was actually pregnant. Lying without lying, like a holy loophole. Alicia started calling herself Mama and showing up at my apartment with prenatal vitamins and name books. She'd already picked out Alice if it's a girl, after our grandmother. My prenatal appointments became a circus. Mom and Alicia were talking over me, telling the doctor about their baby's family medical history, while I sat there like a decorative incubator. The baby shower was the worst. I walked into a party I didn't plan, for a baby everyone assumed wasn't mine. The banner read, "Congratulations, Alicia," and the cake had a stork delivering a baby. I discovered Mom had told my boss I was relocating after delivery. While trying to find a quiet spot, I found something that night. My mom's medical folder on me. Every donation, every procedure, highlighted and tabbed like a twisted scrapbook. The final page? A printout about Save Your Siblings, with notes in Mom's handwriting about God's plan. When Alicia started calling me auntie at a church potluck, something in me snapped like a overstretched maternity band. I called Louis 17 times before he answered. "Can I stay with you?" I begged. "I guess," he sighed, like I'd asked to store a couch. I changed doctors, blocked my family on everything, and tried to breathe. Louis's apartment smelled like gym socks and broken dreams, but at least no one was measuring my belly like I was livestock. For 2 months, I saved every penny I could while searching for my own place. "If you keep that baby, we're done," Louis announced one night, casual as ordering pizza. "I told you I don't want kids." So I found my own place. A studio so small I could cook dinner and go to the bathroom without moving, but it was mine. I found young parent support groups, secondhand cribs, and something resembling hope. My daughter arrived on a Tuesday, 3:47 a.m. Just me, her, and a very patient nurse named Brenda. 3 weeks later, they found me. Mom's PI must have followed me from work. I heard a knock, and through the peephole, I saw Mom at my door with Alicia, their pastor, and enough righteous fury to power a small country. "We're here to bring you both home," she announced, like I'd simply been on an extended sleepover. I didn't open the door. The next day, police showed up for a wellness check. Apparently, I had postpartum psychosis and was endangering an infant. My daughter cooed at the officers while I showed them my clean apartment and full fridge. Then came CPS, citing unsafe living conditions. The social worker seemed confused when she found a clean apartment with a happy baby. Mom told everyone I'd stolen Alicia's baby. My voicemail filled with cousins calling me Satan's handmaiden, except for my cousin Jenny, who texted, "What they're doing is fucked up. Here if you need anything." Alicia had a breakdown and was hospitalized. Mom blamed me for that too. Someone started leaving baby killer flyers under my door. The church prayer chain mobilized like a spiritual SWAT team. Yesterday, a process server knocked. Grandparents' rights petition. Mom's claiming I'm an unfit mother, that Alicia deserves her miracle, that God himself wants my daughter raised by someone else. My lawyer says their case is bullshit, but defending it will cost thousands I don't have. But they have no idea what I'm willing to do to stay a mother. It took a turn I never expected. I sat there staring at the legal papers, my hands shaking as I read through the accusations. 3 lawyers. Mother had hired 3 lawyers. The words blurred together. History of mental instability, unfit environment, best interests of the child. They'd cited my therapy sessions from when I was 16, the ones after the kidney donation. When I'd told the therapist I felt like a walking organ bank. Mother had kept those records too, apparently. My daughter started crying from her crib, and I set the papers down to pick her up. The next morning, I needed formula. The grocery store was supposed to be safe, just a quick trip while the baby slept in her carrier. I was comparing prices when I heard that voice, the one that used to sing me lullabies before medical procedures. Mother stood in the checkout line, her cart full of organic vegetables and judgment. She looked directly at me and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm praying for you to do the right thing, sweetheart, for everyone's sake." Her breathing had this strange quality to it, almost like hissing. The other shoppers stared. The cashier paused mid-scan. I grabbed the cheapest formula and headed for self-checkout. In the parking lot, I couldn't help myself. The words came tumbling out, all the anger and hurt from years of being harvested for parts. I confronted her by her car, my voice rising with each accusation. "You kept medical files on me like I was livestock. You told the whole church I stole Alicia's baby." But the more I spoke, the more I sounded exactly like what she'd written in those papers. Unhinged, unstable, dangerous. 3 women from her Bible study walked past, whispering to each other. One pulled out her phone. Mother just stood there, calm as a saint, letting me dig my own grave. Monday morning, my boss called me into his office. The coffee shop's ancient pipes had burst over the weekend, flooding the storage room. "Your mother's husband owns that construction company, right?" he asked, scrolling through his phone. "We need someone who can start immediately." I knew what this meant. One word from Mother about my concerning behavior, and I'd be updating my resume. My boss wasn't a bad guy, but he had a business to save. Mother had found another pressure point. 3 days later, my daughter's temperature spiked during my shift. 101.5 on the forehead thermometer I kept in the diaper bag. I watched the clock, calculating. My break was in 2 hours. If I left now, that was job abandonment. If I waited, my phone buzzed. A text from mother. I could be there in 5 minutes to help with the baby. Just say the word. She knew. Somehow. She always knew. I looked at my daughter's flushed face, then at my boss dealing with the construction crew. I clocked out. The emergency room visit took 4 hours. My daughter's fever broke with infant Tylenol, just a normal childhood illness. But now there was a medical record. Documentation that I'd brought her in for a minor fever, which mother would spin as either neglect for waiting too long or hysteria for overreacting. As I sat in the waiting room filling out paperwork, I heard that hissing breath again. Mother appeared in the doorway clutching her purse. I was just so worried when I heard. I had to come check on my grandbaby. The nurses smiled at her concern. Such a devoted grandmother. By the time I got home, I'd lost my job. My boss texted that he understood family comes first, but needed someone more reliable. The construction work would start tomorrow, mother's husband's crew handling everything. That same evening, my landlord slipped a notice under my door. Noise complaint from an anonymous neighbor about the baby crying. First warning, 3 strikes and I'd be evicted. Lewis showed up an hour later demanding his gaming console back. Everything was happening at once, like mother had pulled some invisible string. The church Facebook group had my picture up by Thursday. Someone had photographed me crying in my car after cleaning out my work locker. The caption read, "Praying for this young mother clearly struggling with mental health issues." 43 comments, half offering prayers, half suggesting someone should check on that poor baby. Mother's comment was perfectly crafted. As her mother, I'm doing everything I can to help. Some situations require tough love. The pediatrician's office called the next week. The mother keeping detailed medical files on her donations like some kind of twisted scrapbook makes me wonder what else she's been documenting all these years. Was every single interaction calculated for future use? They needed Alicia's kidney donation records for my daughter's file, family medical history. I'd managed to avoid my sister for months, but now I had to call her. She answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. Her voice was different, softer, but somehow more unsettling. "I've been praying you'd call. The baby needs her complete medical history. Our medical history." She emphasized our, like my daughter was community property. Mother started her next phase of attack through the family. She told my aunts that my behavior was exactly like after the kidney surgery. She reminded them how I'd been paranoid and ungrateful at 16, needing therapy because I couldn't handle God's plan for our family. The prayer chain became evidence collection. Every text I sent asking them to stop could be screenshot, reframed, used against me. When I tried to document mother's harassment, posting about it in a single parent support group online, someone reported me for cyberbullying grieving grandparents. At my new job, a night shift at a warehouse that didn't require references, I discovered mother had listed herself as my emergency contact years ago and never been removed from the system. She'd been calling HR, expressing concern about my mental state. The HR manager pulled me aside. "Your mother says you've been exhibiting concerning behavior. She's worried about your child." I explained the situation, but how do you make "my mother wants to steal my baby from my infertile sister" sound reasonable? The sleep deprivation hit hard. 3 consecutive nights of colic had me mixing up orders at the warehouse. I put shipping labels on the wrong boxes, sent inventory to incorrect addresses. My supervisor said I seemed out of it, maybe on something. 2 customers complained. Another note in my file. Another piece of evidence mother could use. Then Sarah, my best friend since middle school, stopped returning my calls. When I finally cornered her at the grocery store, she looked exhausted. "My husband says I need to stop getting involved in your family drama. He's threatening divorce if I keep helping you. I believe you, I do, but I can't lose my marriage over this." She hugged me quickly and left. I stood there in the cereal aisle, realizing mother had found a way to isolate me from everyone who might have stood by me. The other young mothers in my apartment complex started crossing the street when they saw me coming. I found out why when someone forwarded me screenshots from a local mom's Facebook group. "Anyone know about that unstable girl in Building C? I heard she stole her sister's baby. Someone should call CPS. My pastor says the grandmother is trying to help, but she's refusing." Dozens of comments from people who'd never met me, all certain they knew my story. Mother's lies were becoming accidentally true through sheer repetition. She told people she'd tried to help with my rent, and by coincidence, Lewis had sent me money for bills that same week. The Venmo transaction had a timestamp that seemed to confirm her story. When I proved she'd lied about me agreeing to adoption papers, I had to admit I'd Googled adoption agencies in my first trimester, when I was scared and alone. Those searches became evidence of my indecisiveness and inability to commit to motherhood. My only friend at work, an older woman named Bert, who worked the forklift, admitted why she couldn't testify on my behalf. "Your mom's husband is writing my son's recommendation letter for his contractor's license. I'm sorry, honey. I got my own family to think about." Even strangers were getting pulled into mother's web. The worst part was how reasonable mother made everything sound. When I laughed with relief after a successful pediatric checkup, my daughter was hitting all her milestones despite everything. Someone photographed me in the parking lot. The image circulated with captions about me partying while child was sick. Every normal moment became evidence of abnormality in mother's hands. One evening, I found a text from mother that made my blood run cold. "You can end this anytime. Just do what's best for everyone." I stared at those words, understanding the weight behind them. She believed she was saving my daughter. She believed Alicia deserved this baby. She believed I was just being selfish, just like when I'd complained about the blood draws, the bone marrow, the kidney. In her mind, I'd always been the difficult one, the ungrateful one, the one who didn't understand God's plan. I looked at my daughter sleeping in her secondhand crib, in our tiny apartment with the water stains on the ceiling, and the neighbor who complained about crying. I thought about Alicia's house with its nursery already decorated, about the college fund they'd start, about the opportunities I couldn't provide. For just a moment, in the exhaustion and isolation, I wondered if mother was right. Then my daughter opened her eyes and smiled at me, and I knew. They could take everything else, but not her. Not this time. Mother started dating my elderly neighbor Mr. Chen the following week. I noticed her car in the visitor parking spot every evening, watched her carry groceries up the stairs to his apartment. She brought him homemade soup, helped with his medications, listened to his stories about his late wife. Within days, she had a spare key. She'd wave at me from his balcony while I loaded my daughter into the car for daycare. During one encounter in the hallway, she mentioned my favorite childhood book casually, the one she used to read when I was sick after donations. The message was clear. She remembered everything about me, every vulnerability. The social worker assigned to our case interviewed us separately about the hospital incident. Mother gave her version first, describing how she'd rushed to support her struggling daughter, only to be rejected. She produced receipts for the gas, address, the parking fee, even a timestamp from the hospital's visitor log. Everything documented, everything reasonable. When my turn came, I explained the harassment, the manipulation, the way she'd appeared knowing exactly when we'd be there. Both accounts were completely different, yet both of us believed we were telling the absolute truth. The social worker took notes, her expression neutral, impossible to read. My old Facebook posts started surfacing in the court filing. Posts from when I was 17, 18, complaining about babies crying in restaurants, swearing I'd never have kids, making jokes about how children were parasites. Teenage sarcasm transformed into legal evidence of my unsuitability as a mother. Mother's lawyer had screenshot everything, organized it chronologically, highlighted the most damaging phrases. My own words from years ago now threatened my present. During the first supervised visit, my daughter reached for Alicia immediately. She'd spent so much time rubbing my belly during pregnancy, talking to the baby, playing music against my skin. My daughter seemed to recognize her voice, her touch. Alicia had been practicing saying mama for weeks, repeating it over and over during the visit. When my daughter finally babbled something that sounded close, Alicia burst into tears of joy. The supervisor made a note. I watched my sister hold my child, saw the desperation in her eyes, the genuine love mixed with something darker. The apartment building's nanny cam footage became another weapon. The camera in the lobby caught me stumbling home after those sleepless nights, struggling with the stroller, looking exhausted beyond measure. What it didn't capture was the crying baby, the ear infection, the 3 hours of soothing that preceded each stumble. But on video, I looked intoxicated. My exhausted swaying became evidence of substance abuse. The timestamp showed 3 a.m. What kind of mother had her baby out at that hour? I tried presenting evidence of my past medical exploitation to family court, thinking it would show a pattern of abuse. The judge dismissed it as irrelevant to my current fitness as a parent. My childhood donations, the kidney surgery, the bone marrow, none of it mattered legally. The court only cared about the present, about whether I could provide a stable environment now. My history as a spare parts factory was just that, history. Alicia's Instagram account revealed more than she realized before she made it private. I'd screenshot everything in a desperate moment, including posts about her psychiatric holds, her obsession with baby names dating back years, her collection of infant clothes bought long before I was even pregnant. The final visible post asked if aunts could get custody rights, but even this evidence felt like a violation, using her mental health struggles against her. The church newsletter became a timeline of Mother's campaign. Prayer requests appeared weekly, carefully worded pleas for family reconciliation and wisdom in difficult times. Reading between the lines, I could see her strategy unfolding, first establishing concern, then escalating to crisis, finally positioning herself as the stable solution. The congregation rallied around her, unaware they were soldiers in her war. The court-ordered therapy sessions became another minefield. Exhausted and frustrated, I made the mistake of being too honest with the therapist. When she asked about my darkest thoughts, I admitted that sometimes I understood why people ran away with their babies, why they disappeared in the night. I wasn't planning anything, just expressing the desperation that came with feeling trapped. But therapists are mandated reporters. My moment of honesty became another document in the file against me. I tried recording Mother's threats during one of her visits to the daycare parking lot. She'd wait there at 4 p.m. just hoping for a glimpse of her grandbaby, she said. But she'd time her words carefully, making veiled threats only when we were alone. Mother dating the elderly neighbor for spy access while delivering soup and meds. That's playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Evil genius meets Meals on Wheels with a side of surveillance. This time I was ready, phone recording in my pocket. But the storage was full. Hundreds of photos and videos of my daughter had eaten up every bite. Mother saw the notification flash on my screen and smiled. She knew I'd tried and failed. The daycare worker who'd witnessed Mother's behavior, who'd seen her try to sign my daughter out without permission, chose silence when investigators came calling. An anonymous complaint had been filed about her teaching credentials, questioning some discrepancy in her background check. The timing was too convenient. She had student loans, a family to support. She pulled me aside one day, apologized with her eyes, but said nothing that could help my case. I started noticing Mother wearing Alicia's maternity clothes to court appearances. The same lavender cardigan my sister had worn while pregnant, convinced it would bring luck. The same dress she'd bought for her phantom baby shower years ago. Mother moved through the courthouse like a grieving grandmother, every outfit chosen to evoke sympathy. She'd spray Alicia's perfume, the scent my daughter had known in the womb. Mother made an offer through her lawyer. Drop the petition if I agreed to a co-parenting arrangement with Alicia as a second mother. Regular overnight visits, shared holidays, joint decision-making on everything from education to medical care. It was presented as generous, a compromise that would give my daughter an extended support system. My refusal was documented as selfishly denying my child access to family resources and love. The real shock came when I discovered the truth about the legal papers. Going through documents my lawyer had obtained, I found handwritten notes in the margins. The writing wasn't Mother's, it was Alicia's. She had initiated this, researched grandparents' rights, found the lawyers. Mother was the weapon, but Alicia had pulled the trigger. All this time I'd thought Mother was the mastermind, but my sister's desperation had started everything. Lewis's betrayal ran deeper than I'd known. His new girlfriend reached out through Facebook thinking I should know the truth. She'd found our old text messages on his phone. He'd been screenshotting our conversations for months before the breakup, sending them to Mother. Every argument about keeping the baby, every moment of doubt I'd expressed, every financial worry, all documented and shared. He'd been building their case while still sharing my bed. The girlfriend revealed more. She'd been with Lewis for over a year, overlapping with our relationship. The pregnancy had been his excuse to finally end things with me, but now he wanted to modify child support, claimed financial hardship. Fighting custody and support battles simultaneously meant choosing which court dates to prioritize, which lawyer fees to pay first. I missed my WIC appointment during a particularly bad week of legal meetings. One missed appointment and I was marked non-compliant in the system. Another mark against me, another piece of evidence that I couldn't manage basic responsibilities. The formula and food assistance I desperately needed became harder to access. Every system designed to help became another place where I could fail, be documented as failing. My credit cards maxed out paying the lawyer's retainer. $200 an hour, billed in 6-minute increments. Every phone call, every email, every document reviewed. The costs mounted faster than I could track. Meanwhile, Mother used money raised through church fundraisers, ostensibly for Alicia's medical expenses, to pay her legal team. The congregation thought they were helping a sick woman, not funding a